All right, I'm currently on the phone with Ralph. He's another musician that reached out about the current interview sessions. So I'm going to go ahead and give him the chance to introduce himself.
Thank you, Alexander. Thank you. Ralph Tashjian. I'm the chairman of a company called Intercept Music.
All right, nice and short and sweet. I like it. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate it. So let's go ahead and get started way back. Tell me about when you first got into music. What kind of pushed you into that life? What was the environment like?
Well, it was quite some time ago. It was over 45 years ago. I've been in this business my entire life. It was real exciting. I was a young kid. I was a musician here in San Francisco, had bands, and really wasn't very good at it. And uh, but I was always enamored by music. I loved music. I had my father was into music. I had family members that were music teachers. So I think the music thing was in my blood from the get. But what wound up happening was I met some guys that were record promoters here in San Francisco working for MCA Universal at the time. And we became very close and really buddies. And I was an amateur photographer and I helped them out. My family, believe it or not, was in the flower business. And we had a real big flower shop here in San Francisco. And they had Elton John coming to town, his first American tour, the Don't Shoot Me, I'm Only the Piano Player tour. So they said to me, listen, we want to do something special for Elton when he does his encore. Could you have your family create a flower float that we put on stage, introducing him and his new Rocket Record logo and his Rocket Record company? And, we'll create some excitement. I said, yeah, I'd love to do it. So we did it. And Elton started ripping the flowers out of it and threw them into the audience. And the audience rushed the stage. And that set the stage for me to get into the music business because the friends that I had here got transferred to national positions. And believe it or not, they put my hat in the ring to replace them as a local promotion person here in San Francisco. And the rest is history.
That's pretty cool. So tell me about, those next steps once you kind of realized that that was going to be your direction in music. How did you begin that process? Did you immediately set out to set up like a promotion company, or was there some stumbles along the way there?
Yeah, what I wound up happening was I went directly to work for MCA Universal. Had tremendous success at the time. Golden Earring, Phoebe Snow, the American Graffiti soundtrack, Rebroke Rock Around the Clock. It was, an amazing time. And when I think I really hit something as a promotion person, they sent me to New York and I did local promotion in New York for MCA Universal. And I was going to the radio station, and there was one gigantic radio station, the biggest radio station in America at the time, was called WABC. I mean, it was one of those AMs that reached God only knows how many states, right? From Canada all the way down to South Carolina. Uh, and I brought a record to them called Rock and Roll ABC by Freddie Cannon, and I go, wow, this is WABC. This is rock and roll ABC. Aren't you playing ABC 123 by the Jacksons? That was it. They took an obscure record from nowhere and put it on the biggest radio station in America. And it blew up. And it was kind of helped launch my career even further.
Sure. So what was that process like? Kind of rubbing elbows with some of the high end artists of the time, and then also working on like promotion and marketing materials for them.
It was a real exciting time. The music business, the record business at that time was real exciting. We didn't have all the analytics. We didn't have SoundScan. We didn't have BDS. We didn't have MediaBase. We certainly didn't have the analytics that we get from a Spotify or an iTunes or anything like that. So it was all done on passion, drive, emotion, and convincing people to give something a chance. And it was an exciting time.
Okay. And how long were you in that environment before you started to like get the itch and get out and start your own company?
It was about um, Well, I went from there. I went to 20th Century Records. I had, some great success there with Barry White and all of that. And then I went to Island Records in the beginning with Robert Palmer and Marley and, promoted all those records. And then from there, I wound up doing what they call an independent promotion thing. And I did that for most of the 90s, where, we were contracted by record companies because we had relationships at radio stations and I helped them promote records. It was about 2000 when I decided that that just wasn't for me anymore. I didn't like what it became. I didn't like, I was losing the passion for the music. I got into this because of my love for music. So I started my own label called SMC Recordings, and it was out of San Francisco. And we picked up on a lot of the West Coast hip hop and had a great run for about 10 years. We signed acts like Rakim, we had Killer Mike, we had Pastor Troy, we had some great acts, and we did really well. Then the digital thing came along, and it was time to adjust for that or do something else. Well, I didn't know. I've never done anything else except music my whole life.
Right before we jump into the digital side of it, I have kind of a middle question between there. So, what would you say has been the biggest change in the music industry between the way that it was between, we'll say, the 90s to the early aughts, and then the way that it is now in the digital age of distribution?
There's a lot of it that's the same, believe it or not. Some of the principles are exactly the same. You have to market your music, whether it was a 45 with a big hole in the middle of it, or it's a digital download. You still have to market it. When you have about 2 or 3 million new releases a month coming out, how do you rise above the noise? How do you become heard? Well, what we did then and what we do now are just two different things, but they both have to be done. One, you would go and promote and market at radio stations, start at tertiary radio stations, and then move it up. Now you have to start with social media. You have to be great at social media. And we then try to build streams from social media, create that recognition, and build your brand. There's a lot more opportunities today than there were then.
Okay, so with those points in mind, tell us about moving into that digital industry that you were about to go into.
Well, what wound up happening was you when you do you I'm fortunate enough to have reinvented myself a number of times, right? And when I saw that something wasn't working, I had the insight and the ability and the drive to go ahead and reinvent myself one more time. There's a great story. I think it was about 2015, 2016. I had a release. I had this independent label. We had multitude of artists coming out, and that was about the time that the digital distributors started coming into play, and they were, releasing music, paying artists within 30 days. I was still in the old Universal system and waiting 9 months to get paid. It was no way to compete. I had a record by a daddy Yankee protege named Miguelito, and we went top 10 on the Billboard Latin charts, had a home run with the record, and I think we sold about 2,000 CDs. I knew at that time it was done. Probably cost us about 100,000 to market it. That's when I came up with the concept of building a digital platform.
Yeah, so let's talk about that a bit. You said, you're leading this drive for Intercept Records. You kind of led into what that's all about and what it means. So, what are the details of that? What is your platform for?
Well, we are a digital distribution platform that super serves independent artists and labels. We're a little bit different than everybody else. What we've done when I had the concept of Intercept Music, it was an idea, but I needed a partner. And I wound up finding a tech partner that was able to build the most amazing platform we feel that's out there right now. And Why? It wasn't just about the distribution. At that time when we started this, you had to go outside to get playlisting. You had to go outside to get another service. What we did was try to build everything under in one platform where you had distribution, you had some marketing services, you could get some publicity. We've incorporated AI into it. And what we've created is not a distribution platform that's like some of the DIY platforms that are out there today that anybody can put just about anything out through those platforms. We like to see ourselves somewhere between there and a major because of the exclusivity that we have, the marketing services that we offer. You have to qualify to get in. We're the platform that if you're a little bit more serious about your music or your label, we're probably the right place for you.
That's awesome. So it's a little bit more of a one-stop shop than like your DistroKid or your TuneCore type thing, where not only do you handle the digital distribution, but you also have services for marketing and then development.
You're absolutely right. Here's what we like to call it:
Yeah, yeah, go ahead.
technology with transparency.
Tell me a bit about how people have been receiving this. So obviously you've gotten people on there, you're growing the platform.
Yeah,
What sort of feedback have you gotten about it?
we got billions of streams. We've got about 400 or 500 artists. We have about 300 labels. It's incredible. I mean, it's absolutely incredible. Our marketing services, we do everything from TikTok campaigns to Spotify campaigns. We also have campaigns that we could put in motion for different territories in Europe. Our Latin business is through the roof. We have a real footprint in Latin America and growing. We have partners in Mexico, and we also have partners in Argentina and Colombia. It's uh, it's growing. It's growing incredibly well.
Yeah, that's great. It's great to hear from somebody that's been involved in the music scene for so long and has, adapted with it and pivoted with it and continues to put out a product that services the musicians. What would you say has kind of been your motivation to keep doing it instead of just going off, changing industries or retiring? Like, what's your motivation to keep in the seat?
you know, it's such a great question. It comes from within. It comes from within. If you love what you do, you're not working. And I love what I do. I love music. I love the music business. It's been incredible to me. And for me to have this company, Intercept Music, has been an opportunity for me to give back to an industry that's been incredible to me over the years. And we have a socially conscious company. We don't tie anybody up for long periods of time. If you want to get out, we have a 30-day termination. You can send us a letter and you're free to go. We don't take any of your rights. You own all of your own content. It's just a great, it, it's so heartwarming to watch how people discover music today on how the obscurity of certain things were before the barrier to entry prohibited independent artists and labels from really getting into the game because it costs so much. Today, you put your music out, it gets out all over the world. You really don't know if you get discovered in Japan, and maybe Japan's your number one market and you're an American artist. You just don't know. And that's what's exciting to me.
Yeah, and you mentioned along with like your marketing services, doing like viral social media campaigns and stuff like that. One of the things that I kind of champion a lot on this podcast is the idea that saturation in the market isn't a bad thing because it allows for like the music consumer to kind of really find the personalities that they resonate that are making music with, and they can really attach to the artist in a way that has never been available to them before because they've always kind of just been force fed these mainstream artists.
Exactly. And well, that was it. I mean, really, what was interesting? I've told people this story, kind of gives my age away a little bit, but I was in the car with my granddaughter. She's 15, And we were in Boise, and she said, do you mind if I put some of my music on? And I thought to myself, oh God, what am I going to have to listen to now for 2 hours because we're on a drive, right?
Mm,
To see her sister. And she puts on doo-wop. I look at her and I go, wait a minute.
sure.
How did you get what, how, what? Because everything, when you do what I do, well, how did you find out about it? That's really important, right?
Hmm.
She said, well, I heard it on YouTube and I like it. So I got some doo-wop channels. So that could never happen back in the day.
No, and that's also a great story too. It's amazing that and that kind of lends credence to like a revival as well. All the social media marketing and the things that go on like that to promote different genres and stuff like that happens too, where people resonate to a type of music that isn't really popular anymore, but it becomes popular again. It's that revival
Well, they don't
setting.
have they're not limited to what their mind will. When you were programmed to
Hmm.
before. Now it's up to you. If you like it, you like it. If you don't like it, you don't like it. Doesn't
Hmm.
matter what it is, right?
Yeah,
It's
that's
beautiful. It's
yeah.
incredible. It's
And then
exciting.
to also kind of drive that point home, talking about the social media stuff, it has become to the point where musicians and people that want to be in the music industry have also become the content creators that are putting, these personalized type videos and TikToks and things out there to further kind of demonstrate who they are, what they're about, their type of personality, to get the music consumer more interested in who they are.
Absolutely. Here's a stat for you. And here's a stat for the independent artist and the independent musician. When I started in this, I think it was about 15, 16% was the overall business with independents. Today, we're hovering around 48 or 49% of all music consumed is independent artists and labels. So we're here. It's arrived.
All right. Well, on that note, why don't you tell us again where people can look at this and investigate it and see if it's a good fit for them?
Yeah, great. It's interceptmusic.com. It's in multiple languages. It's a site that is probably, we've heard from multiple people, it's the easiest to navigate, the most user friendly, and so transparent. Because it's really important to know where your money is. You know, you can uh, you can manage your entire label from one platform.
Awesome. So I always like to give the person I'm interviewing the opportunity to put out their last word. So what's a message that you have that you want other people to hear?
Don't give up. Just keep going.